Her scream tore through the dusty air of Dry Creek, a sharp, desperate cry cruelly ignored by the gathering crowd. Nora Vale was bound to a weathered wooden post in the center of the town square. The relentless sun beat down on her bruised shoulders, her once white dress now dirty and torn. Thick ropes dug deep into her wrists and waist, while her bare feet pressed against the splinters of the rough platform beneath her. The people laughed, whispered, and some shouted insults. To them, she was nothing more than property, a spectacle for their entertainment. Her lips trembled as she tried to speak, her voice cracking like fragile glass. "I'm just a joke," the words slipped out, hanging heavy in the stifling air. The crowd roared with cruel delight. One man hurled a stone, it struck the post beside her head. She flinched, turning her face away as tears streaked through the grime on her cheeks. Her swollen eye barely opened. In that moment, she resembled not a woman, but a broken doll abandoned to rot. The sheriff stood nearby, arms folded, his silence a tacit approval, a sentence in itself. The auctioneer raised a wooden mallet, and the crowd's noise swelled in anticipation. The sale was about to begin. Nora gasped for breath, her body shaking with terror. Then, a heavy voice sliced through the chaos, "She's my wife. If she says yes." The crowd turned. An older man stood at the edge of the square, tall, broad-shouldered, his face etched by years of sun and dust. His eyes were calm but unyielding. This was Elias Boone, a rancher who rarely spoke and never backed down. He strode forward slowly, the crowd parting instinctively. Every bootstep echoed on the wooden boards, every eye fixed upon him. Elias stopped before Nora. He removed his coat and draped it gently over her shoulders. Then, he met her tear-filled gaze. "Do you want this? Do you want me to claim you?" The square fell silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Nora's lips parted, her voice weak but steady, "I do, by my own say." A hush swept the crowd. A voice from the porch declared, "Marriage witnessed and recorded. Release her to his protection." Until the judge could rule, the auctioneer lowered his mallet. No one dared move or breathe. Elias drew a knife from his belt and, with one swift motion, severed the ropes. They fell like dead snakes. Nora staggered into his arms. The crowd gasped. The sheriff clenched his jaw but remained silent. The people had heard her consent, they had witnessed her choice. Elias turned, guiding her away from the post. The crowd parted again. Whispers filled the void, some cursed, some stared, some pondered the consequences. Nora glanced back at the post once. Her voice broke but carried, "I am not a joke." And with those words, the auction ended before it truly began. But as Elias led her across the square, unease lingered. Would this bold claim save them, or doom them before sunset? The walk to Elias Boone's ranch felt endless. Nora clung to the coat around her shoulders, her steps unsteady but determined. Behind them, the crowd's whispers echoed like ghosts. Elias remained quiet, his boots firm on the dirt road. At the porch, he opened the door and nodded. Inside. "You need water." Nora sat at the wooden table, hands trembling as she lifted the tin cup. The first sip burned her throat, not from heat, but from the taste of fleeting freedom. Elias leaned against the wall, eyes steady on her. "That stunt buys time, and you know it." She nodded. "I know. Lyle won't let it go." He carved his mark on the rope, the same on his whiskey barrels. Elias held up the severed rope, a small wooden tag dangled, etched with L and D. Nora's voice steadied, "I saw it the night they dragged me from the saloon. They hide women in wagons under barrels. He thinks no one notices." Elias grunted. "Folks notice. They're just too scared to talk." The room grew quiet, save for the ticking clock. Nora touched her bruises and whispered, "Why did you do it? Why call me wife before everyone?" Elias met her eyes, his voice rough but calm. It was the only way to stop them then. The sheriff's crooked, but he respects a public vow. I gave you cover until we figure this out. Tomorrow, if you want to end it, I will. Your choice. Nora swallowed hard. No one had ever spoken to her as if she mattered, as if she held power over her fate. Before she could respond, the ranch dogs barked. Bootsteps crunched on gravel, the barn door creaked. Elias grabbed his hat and knife. Stay here. In the barn, heavy thuds echoed. Two of Lyle's men had slipped inside, one swung a rope, the other brandished a short blade. Elias moved swiftly, catching the rope mid-swing, yanking the man forward, and slamming him against a stall. The second lunged, Elias dodged, but Nora, grabbing a broom, swung hard. The blade clattered away. The man cursed, stumbling back. Elias twisted the first man's arm until he dropped. Both fled into the night, leaving a broken crate marked L and D. Nora picked it up, hands shaking but voice firm. This isn't just about me. There are others. He's hiding them. Elias stared at the mark in the lantern light, jaw tightening. He knew the town wouldn't stay silent forever. The question, would they uncover the truth before Lyle struck again? The night air outside was heavy, stars gleamed coldly. Nora held the crate, her hand steady now. Elias shut the barn doors and lit another lantern inside the house. The glow stretched across the walls. Crickets chirped in the quiet. Nora set the crate down. He's branding women like cattle. This mark is proof. Elias nodded slowly, jaw working. I've seen it on shipments leaving town. But nobody speaks. Lyle has them scared stiff. Nora looked at him. Then why? Why risk it today? Elias leaned forward, face shadowed. Silence makes me sick. If no one stands, men like him rule forever. I didn't claim you to own you, I did it for choice. The words sank deep. For the first time since her capture, Nora's chest eased. Elias breathed deeply. Tomorrow at sunset, we return to the square with this crate and tag. Lay it out for all. Let truth work. Nora hesitated. If they turn away. Elias stood, pulling his hat. Then I stand alone. But folks have had enough. They need a spark. The silence sharpened like a blade. Nora whispered, I'm not afraid to stand with you. Elias nodded. That was enough. The lantern flickered, an owl cried. The night was too still. Somewhere, Lyle plotted. Before the showdown, the story pauses. Hit subscribe to not miss what follows. This tale is just beginning. Sunset painted the sky orange as Elias and Nora returned to Dry Creek. Shadows sliced the square. The post stood sentinel, the crowd buzzed like flies. Nora clutched the crate, hand steady. Elias, tall and calm, carried the rope and tag. Lyle Deacon waited, boots planted, face furious. He waved a paper, she belongs to me. This proves it. Murmurs rippled, some nodded, some averted eyes. Elias stepped up, placing rope and tag on the crate. His voice boomed, this brand, L and D, marks how he traffics women, not whiskey. You've seen it. You know. Silence fell. The sheriff shifted, mute. Eyes flicked between Lyle and evidence. Lyle snarled, lunging for the tag. Elias seized his wrist, the paper dropped. Gasps echoed. They locked eyes, Lyle struggled, Elias unyielding. Finally, Elias shoved him back. Nora raised her chin, I'm not a joke. I choose to stay and speak. The square hushed. Elias's hand hovered near his knife. He knew Lyle wouldn't yield easily, the real fight loomed. But something shifted. Murmurs turned to doubt, then courage. One man stepped forward, then another. A circle formed around Lyle, faces grim, silence thunderous. Lyle cursed, pushing, but the sheriff looked away. Without backing, his power dissolved. Townsfolk seized him, binding him to the post. The rope bit his wrists as it had Nora's. The crowd watched solemnly. Elias touched Nora's shoulder. "You spoke," they listened. "That's more than most dare." Nora looked up, lips trembling with hope, strength. As sun vanished, Elias led her away. Past respectful nods, ashamed eyes. At town's edge, Elias stopped. "I said I'd end this if you wished. Do you?" Nora shook her head. "No, I choose to stay." At the ranch, they erected the old post at the gate. What was shame became entrance to Boone Vale Ranch, a new life. Here our story ends, but questions linger. What silences truth knowers? What if more stood in our towns? Would you step forward? The Old West's heart, courage, choice, freedom's price. If moved, like this. For more tales stirring heart and bones, subscribe. Frontier awaits the brave voice.